Hi, I'm Diane Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that are read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the book Behind the Smile, no other than Miss Tiffiny Newton.
Hi.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Tiffany, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Certainly. Thank you. My name is Tiffiny Newton, and I'm the author of Behind the Smile, which is an account of my own domestic violence relationship and inspiring women to understand the red flags, the trauma bonding, the grooming, and the toxic relationships, and how to avoid those types of scenarios. So, really, a woman empowerment book to help women understand that they are not alone in this journey that they're going through.
Miss Tiffany Newton, thank you so much for empowering women all over the world. So, what are the common forms of emotional abuse discussed in Behind the Smile?
So, there are several types of abuse that are discussed. The main ones going into are psychological and emotional abuse because those are not seen, those are hidden, those are um, a lot of what women hide because they're too ashamed and feel guilty about dealing with or putting up with. So that is something that I've talked a lot about with in the book is um, what we go through and in bringing it all in and allowing this toxic behavior into our lives and feeling guilty about it, but still wanting that relationship or being loyal to that relationship. So we continue to put up with um, or allow the toxic behavior and the escalating violence that it brings into our lives.
So, how does the book define emotional abuse and how it is distinguished from other types of abuse?
So, emotional abuse is anything that is going to play with your mind and emotions about a relationship. Very simply, it's there's no physical aspect of emotional abuse. It's all inside and playing with your emotions, and along with that, the psychological side of it of training someone to put up with something that they would normally never put up with, such as you telling me I'll allow this behavior, but me pushing beyond that boundary just a little bit. So you say, oh, it's not so bad. And the next time, pushing a little bit further, oh, it's really not that bad. And by the time I've come to, or you've come to become aware of the situation, it's long past your boundary, but you don't realize that you've gone that far past your boundary. So it's really pushing past boundaries and allowing certain things into your life way beyond what you ever thought that you would ever allow.
Very well said, Miss Tiffany. Very well said. So, what are some subtle, often overlooked signs of emotional abuse mentioned in the book?
Certainly. So when people become very withdrawn from their family, they won't talk about their relationship. They don't seem to be very proud of their partner or in their relationship unless that partner is around, and they have to be overly excited about what they're dealing with or what they're going through. um, the coercion of certain things, the allowance of social media or viewing certain things within your phone, your internet, all of that kind of stuff. Very much along the lines of, keeping track of you on a day to day basis. telling horrible things to you right before you leave the house to go to work, like why are you getting more dressed up for work than you are for me at home? Or why do you look like a piece of crap? Or why don't you keep yourself in a better physical um, in a better physical way for me? You seem to dress up more and take more pride in looking better for other people. Just the wearing down of your self-worth and your confidence. You really become a shallow human being by the time they're notching these things out of you.
So, what impact does emotional abuse have on person's mental health and self esteem?
Well, the impact would be who you were as a person: happy, confident, successful, whatever like terminology or adjective that you would use to describe yourself before ever being in that relationship. You now think you're not worth it. Your words don't matter. Your day to day is not important to anyone. And it really does take a toll on who you are as a person. You don't feel like you should even help anybody because you're not worth anything. So really, it takes you down to where you just don't even exist. I mean, that's a terrible way to put it, but that's their goal. The abuser's goal is to tear you down so you are only reliant on them for existence.
So, what are the warning signs that a relationship may be becoming increasingly controlling?
Um, they want to have your passwords to everything. They want to always look in your phone. They want to ask about who you're talking to, why you're talking to them. The jealousy behind all of that, where some people think jealousy is flattering. um, Jealousy leads to controlling behavior, and controlling behavior is a form of emotional and psychological abuse. Some of the other warning signs would be talking about what you should be wearing, whether in their presence or outside their presence. You can wear this when I am here. You cannot wear that if I'm not here. You need to be dressed in this fashion. So, really, the control over who you are, what you look like, how you're dressed, who you're talking to, it really becomes a very involved pattern or a very involved fabric that you get woven into. And it's very difficult to break out of that because they were nice to you in the beginning. They did shower you with gifts or take you on trips or, do a number of different things where you thought they were a great person. And then all of a sudden, one day, they did something bad, like I mentioned earlier, crossing that boundary of where you thought, no, it's just a small amount. I'm going to allow that this time. And then they were absolutely terrible. And then they took it back to something very nice. So they're basically dangling a carrot in front of you, having you follow along this path of you want this relationship to be amazing. So you're going to suffer through the bad things to get back to the good. So it becomes a cyclical tornado of a relationship.
So, how does the book address the difficulty of recognizing abuse within seemingly happy relationships?
So the difficulty of recognizing it is really being honest with yourself, listening to your gut instinct, and understanding that you cannot ignore that gut instinct because your body is trying to tell you something is wrong. And so really tuning in of, are how do they make you feel when they're around? How do they make you feel when they're not around? Do you feel better when they're not around? Do you feel that you have to be one person in a certain around them, or be another person, like different personalities when they're there or not there? Really diving in deep, and there are checklists and power and control wheel. I have so much information packed into there because I didn't even realize I was in what I would consider a domestic violence relationship. I just thought he was a crappy human being treating me bad. And he punched me, spit on me, backed me into corners, ripped things out of my hands, threw things on the floor, broke things of mine. Um, all of those physical things you associate with violence and domestic violence. But the emotional stuff and the things that he said, I never would have associated that with emotional abuse or psychological abuse until I read these checklists of, this is exactly what I'm going through. Yes, 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 yes. Check marking all these things off. And then coming to the conclusion, I need to get out of here before I'm not able to, or before I'm in the hospital because of his escalating violence.
So, Miss Tiffany, are there specific communication techniques suggested for supporting someone experiencing emotional abuse?
Absolutely. So some of the things for family members or loved ones that have someone that's in a domestic violence or domestic abuse situation, the biggest thing is to ask open-ended questions, not to say you need to leave or you should do this. Those types of comments are very judgmental and make that person who's in the abusive situation shrink inward. That, meaning that they will probably isolate themselves from you because they are probably going to go back to the abuser and say that you don't approve of that relationship, and that abuser is going to take them out of the communication. So really the discussion should be, how does he make you feel? Or how does she make you feel? Because I know men and women are both in get into abusive situations. It's, how do they make you feel? Are you happy with how things are going? Or what do you feel when? Like keeping open questions to have them communicating and feel that they are in a safe space to answer those questions and to share the situation that they're currently in.
So, Miss Tiffany, how can friends and family members help without worsening the situation for the victim?
Absolutely, just being there, making sure that you're a shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen to, um, really just being a support system for them. If they say, I need to get out, but I don't have the money, or I don't have um, the necessities to leave, how can you get that safety plan together, to get some cash together, to get a travel bag together with some of the necessities like a toothbrush and shampoo, or whatever that is, um, and store that at your house for when they are ready to leave. It took me 5 times to leave permanently. On average, it takes 7 times to leave. I was storing my to go bag in a storage unit. I would order items and stick them at the storage unit, so he never knew that when I was actually leaving, until one day he said something that was completely awful, and I said, I'm done. And I had my backup plan. I had my to go bag ready to grab my dog. I grabbed my car keys and I headed out the door.
Congratulations, Miss Tiffany. We proud of you.
Thank you.
And I hope people out there having experiencing this same situation before, like you have this feeling to, fight what is right.
Absolutely.
So what would be your advice for those people out there that having a situation like you before?
My biggest advice is stay safe, because if they're in a domestic violence situation, you have to be careful on what you read or who you talk to about certain things. If they're following you or surveilling you or checking your phone or browser history, the first thing is to be safe. The second thing is to get a safety plan together. Figure out who you can call, who you can go see, who can have, necessities or get you in a hotel room or get you to a shelter, what that looks like. And also to be able to, if you're a mom or have animals, get that to your how can you get that to your um situ- to your friends or family? Like I had a dog when I left, and I didn't realize that there were shelters for domestic violence victims. I knew there were hotels. That's where I went, was a hotel. Thankfully, I had a little bit of money to be able to stay in a hotel, but that's not always the case. So finding a friend or family member to help you do that and just be able to be there. But you're also potentially putting them in more danger too if you just show up and they're being followed. So again, safety is the biggest thing, of making sure that the situation isn't going to escalate, that if there have been any type of hands on, strangulation, punching, hitting, any of that kind of stuff, please call the authorities, document something, whether you're going to have them arrested or whatever. Document it, because if things escalate and you're no longer around, they have a pattern. Same thing if they're abusing you and all of a sudden you snap trying to fight back and they're no longer around, there is a history of that person severely abusing you. So, documentation, making sure that you stay safe for all parties involved, and getting help.
Yes, people, if you need help, please do ask help. And thank you for your advice, Miss Tiffany. So, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
We'll say that again.
What will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
My short term goals is I want to build a journal that goes with this, so they can take the notes that are in here and some of the things that they relate to and write down um, how that would potentially help them or things that they're currently experiencing. So, journaling. Um, Long term is really to turn this into a workshop to be able to help people on a bigger scale.
Well, good luck to your goals, Miss Tiffany, and we are looking forward for more and more empowering books like this. So, how does the book discuss the importance of self-awareness and self-care for those recovering from emotional abuse?
So the biggest part about the recovering process, and everyone is so different in this fashion, is really reaching out to someone who can help, such as a therapist. There are different types of therapists that are out there. There's hypnotherapy that works in on a deep meditative level. There's traditional talk therapy. There are movement therapies. There's rapid eye movement therapies. Um, Really to address what, and discuss what type of trauma you've gone through to determine how you need to get out of it or um, suppress the feelings from it. A lot of times, the trauma that we deal with is becomes like post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, or complex PTSD. So it lives in a different part of the brain, and we need to learn how to work with that trauma because a memory actually, when a memory comes back, it is like it is currently happening to your body, not like a beautiful memory at the beach that you can just sit there and relax. It turns on the stressors in your body. So finding someone who can help work through the trauma with you is absolutely important on the recovery of leaving a traumatic domestic violence, domestic abuse relationship.
Miss Tiffany, very well said. Beautifully articulated. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Mental Health 101, in each first season, People First Season with Mr. Mick Smith. So please do listen, Mental Health 101, wherever listen your podcast. So what preventative measures are suggested for recognizing and avoiding controlling relationships before they develop?
Really listening to your gut, um, understanding what red flags are. There's several lists in here that show what some of those are. The understanding what the unseen signs are, things that because when you break a bone or get a black eye or anything like that, it's physical. You can physically see it on someone. But the emotional and psychological abuse, it's in our head, it's in our hearts, it's we're broken inside. So you can't see that, but you can feel it. So understanding what people's words are and how it makes you feel and impacts you inside. Understand that you know your worth, that you are an amazing person. How you ended up on this earth, you are amazing just the way you are. And no religion ever feels that you are less than. So you should always understand that you are an amazing person and can do amazing things. And someone who is an abusive person will try to tear that down and tell you that you are absolutely worthless. So do not let those words stop you. Continue to be true to yourself and realize that those words are the red flags, from even the smallest thing of an underhanded compliment, or they're trying to gaslight you into thinking one thing when that is not even the truth. Paying attention to all the things that are out there to understand that they all add up to one giant red flag. But if you read and pay attention to the red flags and understand what red flags are in a relationship, then you'll know when to stop.
Yes, Miss Tiffany Newton. Thank you so much for empowering the world. And we are looking forward for more and more and more empowering books like this. And congratulations
Thank you.
for publishing your first book. So can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Absolutely. You can go to www.tiffinynewton.com. So my name, the author, tiffinynewton.com. And it goes through all the different Amazon and all the different retailers that the book is available on, and click and order. And all the proceeds go to a nonprofit teaching women self defense.
Beautiful, Miss Tiffany. Beautiful. Yes, people, let's support Miss Tiffany Newton because if you support her more and more, and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Tiffany, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Modicom people, see you soon.